Hello everyone, and welcome to a relatively quick video on Astroneer today, where I just want to talk about the LTE that launched with the new Rails update. Now this LTE, as per usual, can be accessed through the extra request platform, which is a very early on item that you get. It only costs 2 resin and a ceramic to make, so it's really not that expensive, and I believe the recipe is only 250 bytes, but regardless, this event takes place, and it is a similar event to one that we have had in the past. This time, the event is called the Automated Mass Production Protocol, which could have been the same name. I don't actually remember the previous version, but I do believe that regardless of the case, the items required were different, which is why maybe I don't remember it too much. In this case, in order to complete the event, you need to provide a certain number of points to the extra request platform in the form of various items socketed to the rocket. So you have the tier 1 items that you can fit 8 of them around, as well as a medium resource canister that you can fit on top. So this allows you to send a maximum of 40 items at once. The materials being compound for 1 point, aluminum for 3 points, tungsten carbide for 5 points, and nanocarbon alloy for 15 points. Obviously, the best way to complete the event would be to do it with nanocarbon alloy, as it is worth the most. However, it is much more difficult to get than the other materials, so take it with a grain of salt, and you can choose whichever material you want. Just know that as you go down in the material rarity, you will take a lot more to actually complete this event. And you can't see it here, unfortunately, but this event is completed at 1,920 points. That corresponds to some 138, I want to say, nanocarbon alloy. I did it on my phone earlier, but I forget the exact number. And if you want to go one step down, the tungsten carbide, you need some like 390 or so. So I initially went the route of the tungsten carbide because I thought it's a lot easier to get tungsten. You can just smelt the organic into carbon, and there you go, you're good to go. I also wanted to experiment with a couple other things in the meantime. For example, I set up a railway train system with some storage sensors and other fancy electronics to try to set up some thumpers in the cave, and when the thumpers are full, they would call the train to it and automatically load up the train and then send the train back, and then I'd be able to store everything in canisters. And it kind of worked. It didn't work as much as I would have liked, but regardless, it was still really, really slow. And the entire time it took me to get maybe 200 or so tungsten carbide, I got maybe 30 to 40 pieces of aluminum, and I don't even know how many pieces of compound, because compound is pretty much worthless for this LTE. So it definitely seemed like the trains were heavily limited by thumpers. So the trains, I was kind of disappointed. I really wanted them to be a significant part of this LTE, but they really weren't. They were fine if you needed to get to locations or check out some resource deposits, or if you wanted to mine and pick things up. But past that, I kind of didn't really need them, and I was a little bit disappointed by that. That being said, the method that I chose to go with the tungsten carbide, I just had a little automation set up, and I got pretty much 2/3 of the way through the LTE using tungsten carbide in about 2 hours. But I was kind of bored by then. The LTE, in my opinion, takes a whole lot of points, and it requires a lot of rocket launches at 500 bytes apiece, that I kind of just was like, you know what, I have all these resources already saved up. I didn't want to use these resources because I like completing the LTEs as they come, with new resources, getting new items, and completing it from scratch. I was just kind of done with it. So I filled up the remainder of the points with nanocarbon alloy. I think I only needed like 50 because I had, again, done about like 2/3 of the event with tungsten carbide that I had harvested manually. But yeah, I turned it in, and I was kind of happy to be done with the LTE. That being said, the cosmetics actually are really cool this time around, so that might be why the point totals are very high, to make sure you have to actually grind a little bit for it. For example, the suit that I'm wearing is the .com palette. Sorry, not the suit. The suit is the conductor suit that you get from completing the missions. The palette is the .com palette, which has these flashing little green dots on you, which are, in my opinion, is a really, really cool palette. The visor is forward facing, front facing. I don't remember what the visor is called either, but it's fine. I don't really wear the visors too much. I just like the regular mirror of the Astroneer's faceplate, but even still, it's not a bad visor. And you do get a pretty cool emote. You get a little bit of a thinking animation going on, and then aha, you have a revelation. So in all honesty, the cosmetics are very cool for this event. It's really, really well done cosmetics, but the event itself, in my opinion, could use a little bit of fine-tuning. The rewards that you got along the way actually were really good, though. I do think they have been taking some of the players' advices the player's advice in the rewards for the LTE. For example, there were a couple extra chips I got 4 QTRTGs, a lot of power items which I granted didn't need to use, but just some interesting automation tools if you wanted to go that route. But the extra chips and the QTRTGs for just the base LTE, not even going through any of the extra care packages, were pretty good. It's just the point totals. I think the point totals were a little bit excessive this time around. It required a lot of grinding, even with a lot of things already built up. With a save that has tons and tons of every resource at hand, finding 400 tungsten carbide or 138 nanocarbon alloy, and by finding I mean making in a factory, still takes a long time. So I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on the issue. I do highly recommend doing it though, as the cosmetics are really good, which I've said many times, but that just about wraps it up for me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my little 2 cents on how I did this. Kind of just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of it pretty quickly because the update just came out and I wanted to push out more content as possible. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and or night whenever you guys decide to watch this, and hopefully we'll see you around very soon. Take it easy, everyone.